Let's do together the installation of QRadar 733 in Microsoft Azure. And we're going to start with the installation of the console first. Then we'll do the app host and the manage host. So in the video description, you'll find a link to this particular page. So you need to go to the marketplace and log in with your credentials, which I already did. So I'm going there to the marketplace. And throughout the installation, I'm going to try to do my best in following the documentation, but I will be providing you graphical links to what the text is actually saying in here, right? So that's the instruction set. We click here on Get It Now, and notice that we have the three options: the app host, the manage host, and the console. We are doing the console first. So we click here, Continue. And that brings us here into the Azure environment. Notice that the instruction calls to click on Create right there. So very simple so far. We click Create. And now a couple of things that we need to define. So we need to define the resource group, the region, the size, whether we are logging with SSH password, public ports, and the inbound port. Let's actually do all those steps. So we select the resource group, and this, you should know what the resource group for your Azure installation is. I'm going to call this JBravoX. My region is notice that I pass all the validations on the name. You cannot put things like user or root or anything like that. So that's I'm not requesting any high availability. That's my console. No Azure Spot instance. The size. Now, here on the size, if you go to the documentation, you're going to find that it really, if you go into this link, it's going to show you the minimum and recommended sizes for this. I mean, if you put too little memory or too little number of CPUs, the size of the disk, you may run into trouble. So make sure that you allocate the right amount that you need for your system. Yeah? Your all-in-one. So he's saying he's asking for minimal 64, typical 128. Yeah? Let's actually go back here and leaving the standard before MS in here. If you, this is for the sake of the video, you will select in here the right, the dimension that is right for your installation. In real world, it's most likely you will be logging in with SSH key, and I have done some videos that shows how you set this up. But for keeping the video simple, I'm going to log in this particular case for using password. I call this JBravoX, and I'm going to put a password. This password has a requirement on the length, minimum length, and combination of uppercase and lowercase. Okay. Now, public inbound port. In here, you can decide whether you are going to be allowing public access to this particular image. I'm allowing that, and we will be talking about the networking, and now you put the rules, the firewall rules, to make sure that only your host from a particular CDAR range access the QRadar console. You don't want that to everybody. But in the inbound ports, at least you need to put 22 and 443 because we're going to be logging into the console as well, right? Now the instruction call for click on Review and Create, which we do by doing in here. So validation has been passed, but it's requesting a phone number. I'm going to put here any number. And notice that it's warning us that this is accessible via SSH from the internet. Again, you need to make sure that in your real environment, you will deal with this at the right time. You don't have to do it right now, but you can actually, you need to deal with that for sure. So we click here, create. And you get to this screen, it says your deployment is on the way. Last time I did this, it took around 10 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video until that completes. So deployment is complete. The instruction call, of course, to click on go to resource. So we do that. Here comes the most important thing. QRadar doesn't like dynamic IPs at all. So we need to start by going here and changing this from dynamic to static. And it says associated virtual machine. I've seen this message before. Looks like there might be some rebooting that takes place. So I do not know whether if you go too quickly through all these steps, whether you may get a glitch or not. But let's continue. So we put this in static, and it's very important to click on save. Okay. And that is what is telling us in here. Now it says click overview and go to associated to link. So we go here to overview and click here associated to, and we click on the blue thing that you have next to it. So here we are now. This is the private key. The other one was the public IP address. This is the private one. Again, this one cannot be dynamic. Now the instructions call to click on IP configurations here, right? Let's actually do that. IP configurations. Now in here we click in this private key and notice that it is dynamic. That cannot be the case, right? So in order to change it to static, you need to click here. That brings you to this panel, and you click here static. Make sure you click save, and you are done with that step. Now step number one is all about putting the firewall rules that specify that you can only access that console from your browser. You see that ranges that you have defined for this, and that you put all the right blocking. Talk to your networking guy to make sure that you do this thoroughly. We are not going to go through that process, but we're going to show you where that things are. That thing is. Sorry. I believe that we have to click here where the name of your virtual machine is, and here you click here on their networking, and notice that I have any to any. So this is open for everybody. That cannot be the case. Also, you need to make sure that you have the right ports open for QRadar to operate properly. Where you get that information is actually in the instruction. You see this link in here, common port and servers used by QRadar. So that brings you to this documentation, and you need to again talk to your networking guy and make sure that you go to every one of these. This is SSH, SMMP, port mapper, or protocol, and you need to make sure that if you want these services, you most likely do want, you need to open those ports. Okay, that covers step number 9. Step number 10 calls to click on the virtual machine and click connect. Let's actually do that. In order To get there, you need to click on not overview. Let me get myself oriented again. So if you get disoriented in here like I just did, the best way is to click home, click on the VM that you deployed, and here we are at that panel. Now we need to click here where it reads connect, right? And then notice that it warns us about this, the free access that this machine has. We're going to grab this command to go and SSH into the box. I'm going to open a terminal or a command line in my machine. So if I paste that command, I click yes there, and it's asking me for that password that I put, the long one. And I'm inside the VM. Let's go back to the instructions. We just did step number 11 using password. Again, in your case, most likely you will use keys to do that. It says to check the length of your fully qualified domain name, click on that command. So we click here on the right to do a copy. We paste it here in the terminal, and we get 60, and the documentation says that you get over 63, you are in trouble, because it's only 64 characters that it supports. So I guess that 63 is good, but again, stay below 60 to be sure. Now we are ready to do the actual installation. So we grab that command by clicking here on copy to the clipboard. We go here and we paste it and hit enter. We need to put the password. And the installation begins. This is going to take quite a bit of time. I believe that last time I ran it, it took me about an hour. So I'm going to pause the video until then. If you encounter any problem during this thing, that it doesn't come to the screen that we will get when I resume from the pause, my only suggestion will be to try it again. To make sure that it's not something that the guys in Azure were doing in the infrastructure and were changing something, so this will be one of a kind. So if this happened twice, then then that is something that you need to, that is not the case, and it's something that you are doing wrong. Look for log files that you may get into the error message, and some information that can help you contact the IBM support guys that can show you what could be wrong. But remember that this is a remote infrastructure, so don't lose sight of that. Like the saying goes, the cloud is nothing more than somebody else's computer. So there are going to be some things that you have control, but other things that you have relinquished control to the cloud operators, and that's fine. But keep that in mind through the debugging process. Pausing the video until this completes. Okay, that took a little bit more than an hour. That depends on the infrastructure, how much memory and CPU you put in there for this. Now it's asking me for the admin password. This is the GUI password. That it's a different password from the one that we use to SSH into the box. So I'm going to set that password now. Confirm that password. And we're going to pause the video until this gives us control back. Well, actually, didn't have to do that. So we can actually go here and copy the IP address, open a new browser page, and do HTTPS paste that address, and that should take us into the console. So that's a good sign. That's the self-signed certificate. And we are there. My apologies, the video took a little longer than probably I could have done it, but I really want to make sure that I gave you a quick connection. This is asking me for the license, of course. This is a bring your own license. I'm allowing I wanted to make a good connection between what you saw in the instructions and the GUIs from the Azure installation when you set this up. As you can see, this is a full QRadar installation 733 in Azure.